We were working on the canopy and the side skirts, and then I got us completely derailed and lost down Avionics Way, and then we took a right-hand turn on the Costa Avionics loop at some point. But it's time to get back to that canopy and back to construction of the airplane. I'm excited to bring to you the construction of the rear skirt. Okay, I'm aware it looks pretty rough. Bear with me. Rear skirt is what I'm trying to make here. And I've stared at this thing for quite a while, and I think I got a decent plan, but my plan is mostly figure it out as I go along. I started up here with the doghouse. I don't like what Vans is doing here. They have this aluminum stamped piece that, in my opinion, is just trash. I mean, it's just. And then you have this slider that attaches via fishing string or baling wire to the inside of the cockpit, and you gotta like pull it closed to seal the gap here, and it just feels utterly barnyard. And I'm gonna try to create a doghouse that is just really close to the slider rail and therefore sort of self-sealing. We'll see how that works. I fabbed this up from 030 styrene. I will fill in with epoxy around here to create kind of a fairing, and then the cloth will get laid over the top of that. The rest of this, I've got this gap to bridge, and it's a little uneven. We knew that because I'm, pretty bad at what I do. It doesn't line up quite as well as we wanted, but that's why I'm doing the fiberglass. And so the forgiveness here is that I can fair this in both before and after I lay the fiberglass. Now, I want to fair as little as possible after I lay the fiberglass. So what I'm going to do is bridge this gap with, again, some styrene card, and then take something, in my case modeling clay, to sort of bridge the gap and fair it down, create a smooth bed. And then over that we'll go some additional tape and things to seal this whole area off, some mold release, and then we'll lay our cloth. Alright, so like most of my ideas, the clay idea, not a great one. That wasn't even my idea, but maybe I just executed it poorly. It was going well until it wasn't. My styrene cards started to pop up. Once the corners of those cards started to pop up or be seen through it, it was kind of all over. I had no way to stick it down, and I had this clay mess. So I cleaned it up and I reassessed. And I have started just doing layers and layers of packing tape, sort of bridging the gap and tenting it. The idea is, my initial concern when I thought of this is it wouldn't have the strength to put up with me laying fiberglass over it without it getting all wavy and having trouble with the layers delaminating. It's actually pretty strong. I think it's going to work well. The secret I found is this. It has a little bit of waviness to it when you lay it down. When you hit it with a heat gun, at a certain temperature, it will start to shrink up and you get this perfect sort of flat area, span, and it looks just gorgeous. So quick recap here, clay didn't work, covered the plane in tape, and I now have to pick up sculpting. A warning here, this is the first in what's to become a trend of me failing at filming once the epoxy comes out. Just a heads up.
Faster than the sheriff's drawing, hotter than the sun. Didn't see it coming lately, I've been on the run. You know you've seen my face before, so let me tell you something. Darling, you fell in love with the famous man. See my pictures posted everywhere across the land. And if you run with babe, I want it. Do you still want me? I got a bag of money, honey, and it don't belong to me. Took it from a man that had it coming, so you know it.
I have an abundance of fiberglass cut, mostly trapezoidal kind of angled shapes for the sides, and then some standard thickness 10-inch strips for the top, because really this whole skirt has a nominal thickness of about 10 inches. I also have these custom little dog-eared or anti-dog-eared, I don't know how to explain it, these shapes with this cutout. And the thinking there is that I'm going to have several layers on each side that omit the side skirt, because that side skirt sticks out a little bit. We're going to build up some thickness behind the side skirt, and then we'll lay over maybe half as many layers that include the side skirt, the overlap there, and that way I sort of have this notched out little nice fit where it kind of will nestle in right around that side skirt. I think it's going to be great. I have covered everything with a little mold release. It worked great in testing with earlier. My sprayer didn't work, but I went ahead and foam brushed it on. I think it's fantastic. At this point, I'm just ready to rock. I think everything is going to work out great. Either that or it's going to work out much like the clay and nothing works out. But you know, it's like 50-50, so we'll give it a try. The first actual step from here is I got to mix up some epoxy with some filler so that I can create sort of a gentle slope around that doghouse, because I don't want to build up that many layers of fiberglass. So we're going to sort of create a little fillet there, and then we'll start up top by laying a piece of glass over that kind of spans over that fillet, and from there we're just off and running. It's going to be great. We're going to do this.
You still want me? Would you head for the hills if they found me? Would you turn me in for the bounty? Or vultures are circling around me? Would you die by my side?
Definitely eager to get the peel ply off and see what I'm working with. And it looks great. It does. I'm happy with it. Also eager to get my lines transferred. I can still see the original tape, but I'm getting those lines brought back up to the top just with the Sharpie, and and using some tape as a ruler here, I'm transferring both the inside and outside line. All of my layup layers went well beyond the outside line, just in case I need that for some reason or another. And so I'd like to transfer those so that I kind of know the outer limits of where I'm good to trim to, again, if necessary. My only concern at this point is that same little lip on the end of the canopy that I've been battling has made it through a little bit. That was to be expected. I would say on the starboard side, not a problem. We can ferret out. Right here, it's a little more prominent, and I'm curious as to what my ability to eliminate that is going to be. The question now really is, do I pop it off and inspect it? Or do I add some filler and start to sand and fair while it's nice and planted on the plane? And I don't really know. It's separating easy, and that's a good thing. I had fears of this thing being permanently glued to my plane. It's stuck a little better to the masking tape, even though I did add mold release to that. All right, quick background. I think I said like 9 to 12 layers. I never made it that far. I didn't feel I needed to. I've got about 4 layers, and that's at the thinnest, just over the rear skirt. Everywhere else down here, we've got about, I think, roughly 8 or 9 layers. I went a little thinner on the top, especially around the doghouse. I've got 6 layers. I use a little lighter cloth than I've seen done, and I think all of that combined has it just a little lighter than I thought it would be. I like it, I really do. It came out fantastic. It conforms, it fits, there's very little fairing. But there's this nagging in my brain that tells me I want a little additional structure here, and that I would really not hate myself for putting maybe 2 more layers of cloth, and maybe even using that slightly heavier cloth I have, which is totally backwards. Usually you want your heavier cloth on the bottom and then finish up with this lighter stuff. But yeah, whatever. I do everything a little backwards, right? It's got another 2 layers of cloth. They went down really well. I like it. I love how this is turning out. I think it's going to be fantastic. I cannot wait to get the peel ply off and once again get an inspection on it and possibly start filling with some micro balloons and whatnot. I could just sit here and watch it dry. I just love looking at all the different areas. I think between the side skirt and the rear skirt where it blends there is going to be nearly seamless. But I will quit staring at it because I'm sure it's boring y'all. Well, overall, I was really happy with the skirt. I was stuck with this. This is a hump, a bump type of deal that is left over from not fully flattening out that little lip in the back of the canopy. And I was stuck for nights. I battled whether to start over and try to eliminate that or keep pushing forward. As you'll see, I kept pushing forward, adding glass, cloth, and filler to take this thing to the finish line. I'm still not certain that it's what I want, but it's glued to the plane now, so. I'm feeling much better about how this is turning out. I'm still kind of 50-50 on whether it's going to work or not, but like heavily leaning in favor of it working. I don't fully understand statistics. I got the second skim coat sanded for the most part. It's almost there. I feel like I would get a better idea of where I was at if I got rid of some of the excess. So I'm going to cut this thing back to my rough cut line off of the plane and see a little better what we're looking at. It fits quite well. And I'm actually a little surprised at the robustness of it. It's quite thick, or quite thicker than it seemed, not having the layers taper off, being able to see them all in one cross section, which makes me think I'm likely not going to do a final layup of glass unless there's parts that are getting exceedingly thin. I don't think it's necessary, which means I got to finish up my work here without sanding away too much. It looks good. I think future Ryan really might be frustrated having chosen to cut twice and create that much more itchy dust, but I wanted to play it safe, and safe we have it. I'm going to continue to shape and sand, and I think do some filling, probably with just body filler off of the plane. I've also held back from cutting this rear. I kind of like the length as it stands right now, so I'm not sure that I'm gonna actually trim that. I think it sort of looks nice. It makes the doghouse here look a little less abrupt. So yeah, filling, sanding. Eventually I'm gonna have to do sort of a clear coat of epoxy to seal up the edges and any exposed weave, and then we'll hit it with primer. This came out wonderful. Totally surpassed my expectations. I really thought the first coat of primer was going to highlight a ton of errors, a ton of issues, and we are miles ahead of where I thought I would be at this point. It's smooth. It's the shape is just fantastic. The hump that I've been scared about is really not very prominent at all. In fact, it all but fades away. Again, I could not be happier. This thing deserves to be on display. A bit of an exaggeration there for sure. In fact, there are a few blemishes. On the back here, we've got some weave showing. Now, in my defense, I was planning on cutting about an inch of this off and I decided against it. And so some of that just lacks finishing as a result of that. But we do have some of the same sort of weave showing in the middle here. Now, I don't have an immediate explanation as to why that's not my fault, but if you give me a couple minutes, I'll come up with some excuse for you. In all seriousness, it probably was a bit too early for primer. I think one of the things I miss doing is really giving it some high pressure air. Would have blown some of the dust out of some areas and highlighted some pits and pinholes, and again some weave that I could have filled before hitting it with that primer. However, as much as I don't like doing it, we can sand this down. I can add a little filler over the primer and then we can take another stab at it, and that's exactly what I'm going to do next. That is after fitting it on the plane, just to see how it looks. I got to a point yesterday where I had to just step away. You know, I always charge into these things. I'm pretty comfortable with Sika Flex now, but I do forget just what a ton of glue it is that you have on these pieces, and it can get overwhelming. I was getting my fillets squared away. Things were looking a little sloppy, but it was held on tight. I had to just trust the process, and I did just that. Coming down this morning, again, it looks pretty rough at times, but then you start cleaning up, and anything outside of the primer lines tends to just rub away, and you can get it really clean. That is assuming that your primer job was clean, and that's why I was very happy taking some extra time to mask and how well that worked there. That's it. This thing's done. It's on there. It's good. It looks really nice. There might be some minor filling and fairing as we get closer to paint, but I'll wait and talk to some experts on that. For now, we're going to move on and put our attention elsewhere. This thing is cool. It looks slick. It fits fantastic. It's awesome. I'm very excited.